Startuprad.io, your podcast and YouTube blog covering the German startup scene with news, interviews, and live events.
Hello and welcome everybody. This is from Startuprad.io, your startup podcast and YouTube blog from the German-speaking startup scene. Today's interview is brought to you again by Startupraven.com, the most easiest and efficient way to look for investors and cooperation partners. Today, I do have a guest. Ta-da! No surprise here, but we will talk about marketing and advertising together with Gerhard. Hey, how you doing?
Hi, Jörn. Thanks for having me.
Totally my pleasure. But before we get started with all of what we have ahead of us, you are based in Munich. Can you explain to a person not from Munich what a Weißwurstfrühstück is?
So Jörn, absolutely happy to do so. Munich is probably most of you guys have heard about it from the Oktoberfest. So it is the place for great beer and for great Weißwurst, as Jörn was saying. And a Weißwurstfrühstück, it's basically a white sausage breakfast, if you would translate it literally, is literally the breakfast we have here in Munich very often in common Saturdays and Sundays before 12 o'clock. That's very important. It needs to be before 12 o'clock. Why? Because there's quite some history behind it that back in time, the sausages would only be fresh until 12. So compared to a normal sausage, it is one that you need to cut up, remove, so to say, the layer, and then you have a wonderful white sausage with some sweet mustard and what we call a wonderful pretzel. And that in combination is a classic here in Munich that you can get everywhere. And I'm more than happy to share some recommendations on the best restaurants you can get them.
We will link them down here in the show notes. He'll send me the links afterwards. Plus, it is on the weekend, it's legal even to have a beer with that, even though I personally prefer the ones without alcohol in the morning. You are, Gerhard, one of the three founders of Global Savings Group. And before we get into any confusions, this is not a micro savings fintech. You're completely in a different space. I would not completely exclude you from a little bit the fintech surroundings because you're also dealing with sales. You're also dealing a little bit with finances, but most of the time you are more what people could describe as a really huge affiliate network, even though I realize you don't like the term affiliate, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Jörn. So in essence, what we do is we're you could call us a media intent company or a lead generation company in the wider e-commerce space. So what do we do? On the one side, in essence, we connect consumers with advertisers who really, the big brands in the whole e-commerce space that want, so to say, that we all daily, do our purchases on, from Adidas up to eBay, up to Amazon. And what we do is, we connect consumers by actually through our wide variety of portals. Our core offering is all around helping consumers to make better purchase decisions. So, it offers and ranges from, cashback portals that we operate. We have quite a variety of discount portals on couponing, where you basically are able to get discount codes up to, what we, let's say, call product recommendations, where, we have our handpicked deals and where we will basically advise consumers on, so to say, deals that cannot miss out. And, in essence, the core mission of the company is all around helping people to have a better life by actually enjoying these type of opportunities while actually at the same time helping, our advertising colleagues and clients to actually get access to a wide consumer base. And that's a bit how we connect the dots, and lead generation is at the essence of it.
Mm-hmm. Talking about the retailers and brands, I found on your website Adidas, IKEA, Lenovo, Nike, H&M, Booking.com, Sephora, and Ray-Ban, just to name a few. So you're not necessarily working with the smallest guys, even though I do understand that even smaller merchants are your clients. Going a little bit before Global Savings Group, we may abbreviate as DSG. You know, I love the TLAs, the three-letter acronyms here. And I found that you've gotten around quite a bit. You did a PhD and you worked for Siemens Management Consulting. Interestingly, in Munich, in Sao Paulo, in my old town, Beijing, where I also lived, and Tel Aviv. What did you do there? What did you learn there? And most interestingly, why did you jump ship from a management consulting position at Siemens to start a marketing technology lead generation company?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and there's no logical connection, but I'm happy to share a bit the story. So let's start with my studies. So I'm graduated here in Germany from a business school, where, by the way, I also met in our math pre-course, so to say, my today's co-founder colleague. Okay, so that's the first connection. So we studied together, and business, and I was basically, to be honest, the whole PhD thing. I was a bit younger than on average, so I started with 21, and I didn't want to get into work directly. So I thought, okay, how can I extend the good student life for a couple of more years? And honestly, did a PhD, but there was, I would call it a very practical PhD. And look, that's actually where I met because Adrian, who basically I met at university, went to McKinsey, another consulting company, and that's how we met the third co-founder through the McKinsey network, because those guys met at a coffee machine. And actually were bored from doing slides for big corporate companies, and that's a bit how the circle, in terms of how the three of us connected, came. And look, I think Siemens Management Consulting. Why the hell did I go there? Look, I had quite a big passion for renewable energy, for actually alternative energy, for there's a lot of movement, a lot of obviously. Great technology development. That was actually in Israel, working on solar energy towers. So there was one type of technology. Then, in Sao Paulo, we were working on a project where we would actually build across the whole Amazonas a high voltage grid. So basically, once half through the whole country, and so on. So I loved the whole energy sector. I didn't love the management consultant part too much, though. And as a result, like 4 years down the road, in a big corporate doing tons of projects, I met again with the two guys who actually did, their McKinsey stuff. And we met for a beer, and we figured we're all kind of tired from drawing slides and from doing, consulting, but actually want to try something else and own our decisions, and somehow, get our own ideas into real life, and not just on a PowerPoint slide. So hence, we more or less all embarked on what you would call a classical leave for 6 months. And during those 6 months, we, this is 2012 in terms of timeline, right? The whole German ecosystem for, let's say, startups and the venture capital in general was pretty at its infancy. All right. And, we were having our, so to say, package of ideas of what we potentially would want to be able to do. And went and met different, incubators in Berlin, exchanged ideas. And one of those, is a very familiar character, at least here in Germany, internationally probably also known under the name of Rocket Internet. So we met with Oliver Samba, and he basically told us, look, I don't like your ideas, but I kind of think you guys could be kind of a cool team. And, we kind of went into that whole craziness of his and thought, hey, look, this guy has done tons of successful companies in the past. One of the most famous serial entrepreneurs we had back in time, probably still now in Europe. So with him, we started our first company called Dropgift. Okay, and this is how we entered. It was more or less a idea that Rocket Internet brought forward, and it was all about social gifting. I'll spare you the details because it failed miserably after 4 months. And after 4 months, there was one realization, which was, a lot of the consumers that actually were trying to somehow interact with our product, which basically would enable, through Facebook to get access to gift cards that you could send to your friends. We figured that they didn't want to send gift cards to their friends, but they actually want to redeem gift cards themselves on our platform. And hence we stumbled somehow through this experience into the whole area of loyalty, couponing, gift cards, and cashback. So it was more or less, we stumbled into this. It wasn't, that we went and found a problem that we had to solve for the world, but, it was a big coincidence. And here we go.
You just met a guy who said you straight in the face, I don't like your ideas, but I think you're a cool team. And you went with him. I would have loved to be a fly on the wall during this conversation. Okay, I see. And that was the time a global savings group was born, just in Germany. Even though I realized you guys did quite a lot of acquisitions over time, but that's something we'll get to. What was the basic approach you started with for lead? Did you already start as a lead generator for merchants, for brands?
Yeah, absolutely. So the basic approach we took, would like to highlight this was 2012 when we started, so to say, this adventure. 2012, the concept of BRIC was massive. So Brazil, Russia, India, China. So the first thing we did was we looked into the couponing space, online coupons. Okay, so literally, to explain it very briefly, it's a concept where you literally, as a consumer, get access to the best online coupons from a wide variety of big brands, and you can redeem them at checkout and thereby save some extra money. And we started with that concept in Brazil and in India, and we piloted it there, launched the product, tested it, and wanted to get a feeling if we, so to say, get good traction there, because in Europe, our feeling was that the whole concept and idea is pretty saturated. And what happened was we got very quickly a lot of traction. We felt that from day one, the whole market, all right, when you talk about the wider market in this space, and there's, unfortunately not a great terminus to coin the space, but, I would maybe call it, intent-based media, if you want to use that wording, or commerce content is another way to describe it. But literally, we figured that this whole space is highly fragmented. So there's tons and tons and tons of small sites competing in every market, but there's not like a lot of big reputable companies doing that. In the US, we saw there's like one or two, major lighthouse, so to say, brands and sites that were already out there, such as Recruit and Rewards. And they served a bit as a role model for us. And hence, what we did was we started in BRIC, where we were very successful in Brazil, in India, partially in Russia, didn't do China. And then as we took the learnings, we rolled it out across all of Europe. And in 2018, we even went out into the US, where we're now active as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I see. So basically, you started the company in Munich, but was at first not your main target. Are you still active in India or Brazil?
So yes, we are active in both markets, and we're active with our own websites, but we're also active, and this is one one important angle. I wouldn't call it another pivot, but it was a great addition, which was at some point we realized that there was a lot of value by actually partnering up with the largest media companies in every country. So, with other words, what we do as part of our business is that we have strategic partnerships with the largest nationwide media publishers, such as IG in Brazil, or one times India in India. And what we do is we actually host our white label solutions, a white label product within their overall system, connected very well with their audiences, and actually offer deals, discounts, coupons for these publishers. In the US, it's with a CNN, with Business Insider. So really, we look for the large nationwide media publishers that have a lot of traffic and audience. And that has worked incredibly well. It's a great new revenue stream for media companies to basically finance journalists, and hence something that why I don't like the word affiliate, because it's, even media companies are doing affiliate as one revenue stream. And that's, I think, how in general the terminus of affiliate needs to be perceived. It's a way to, sort of say, generate revenue and a way to monetize. It's a monetization description, but it's not a good way to describe a business model. And hence, look, these media sites or media partners have been fantastic for both sides to scale further the business within Europe, but also, as I said, in the US.
I see. So basically, would you say your competition is still very much fractured?
So yes, I would say it consolidated a lot. So the entire market is consolidating, which means, we're by far, GSG today in this space is by far in Europe factor 5 to 10 the largest player. So that was, when we started over time seeing this, fragmented setup, the opportunity that we saw by actually combining it, by professionalizing, by making sure that the content that we also provide is highly curated, is high quality, and thereby provide, great experiences for consumers. But even more importantly, to create a lot of trust for the advertising brands that collaborate with us, to ensure that they feel that they're getting, relevant traffic that is trustworthy. And I think that was very important because, if you have tons and tons of small players, it's very hard to control that. If you have one big player or a couple of big players, it's much easier to collaborate also for big advertising brands such as, IKEA and eBay and all the ones that you've been mentioning before.
So it's a shopper's reward, and I realized you guys are big in Europe, but not as Global Savings Group. You do different stuff, like in different verticals on different levels, however you want to call it. I found it interesting that you bought several companies. So you're a driver of the market consolidation. 2015, I Am Bull in the Netherlands. 2019, UK Pouch, which is a browser extension. I found this very interesting. 2020, French cashback company. How is it pronounced? I would pronounce it iGral.
Yeah, iGral.
iGral, yeah. And 2021, you bought Shoop, a Berlin-based company. And with all of them, you kind of got different products. So in the UK, you're mostly active as Pouch. And in France, you're mostly active as iGral. How does this all work together on one or another level?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Jan. So I think one way to structure this and make it a bit more simpler to understand is you can literally say there's one common denominator, which is our products are there to help people have a better life, and particularly by helping them to save money and do that in a very fast and effective way. And that's a common denominator for all products. And on the other side, we have a common denominator that we work on the advertising side with the same type of brands very specifically. Now, how to structure this further is you have two different layers. So we have a B2B and a B2C, so to say, portfolio. On the B2B side, we talked about media companies whom we're partnering up, and where our product, is a white label integration for the benefit both of news publishers, so they can also monetize their existing audiences better, while we actually add that to the advertiser mix, and we're adding to that product portfolio. All right. So right now we just deployed another product for news publishers. It's so to say a product recommendation element where together with the editors, we're writing the best deals. We're writing about here are 5 things that you should have as you kind of move back into home office or move away from home office. So there's a lot of product recommendation topics that we're working at together with media companies. And on the other side, all right, there's the whole B2C portfolio that you were talking about, which are sites that are running under their own brand. And what we do there is we're really trying to consolidate the market for cashback / loyalty. That's how we call it internally. But in essence, what those brands do is very similar. All right. And it doesn't matter if the touch point is a browser extension that automatically helps you to never forget your cashback, or that automatically, applies the best coupon. This is what we do, for example, with Pouch. And we have exactly the same type of browser extension on Igral. And what we're doing is we have one technical platform that basically powers these different products. And in essence, the user experience is, however, the core idea is as you go and do your shopping, we give you part of your money back, right? That's in essence a cashback experience. And a lot of the experience today is like that. And we're building on top to actually make sure it's more than that in the future. So we really want to make sure that whenever you go shopping, it doesn't matter with which brand will reward you. Okay, it could be in the form of a cashback, it could be in the form of points, it could be in the form of, giving you some extra couponing, some extra gift cards. That's our true ambition when we think about this. So it's a B2B portfolio with news publishers, and on the other side, our B2C portfolio. And in combination, all right, we're particularly in Europe, but also in the US, driving over 2 to 3 billion of GMV for our advertising brands. So our vision is in this space to build a smart alternative to the current GAFA channels. So literally, a true alternative marketing channel where brands can sort of say invest in new customer acquisition, but particularly, and this is pretty important, in how to convert their existing consumer base better. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think if you think about us, one thing to differentiate is we're not doing classical advertising. Okay, we are not these guys with all of this different, click banners where nobody knows anymore where to click and all the fatigue that comes with it. Okay, that's not our business. We're also, not like, social media platforms where you go for entertaining and then suddenly you click on a link and end up, right? That's also not our business. Our business is very much value driven for consumers. So people come and don't even perceive it as advertising, because if you take a cashback or a coupon, you don't perceive it as advertising. And the other piece is people come to our sites to shop. Mm-hmm. They don't come for entertainment. They come for shopping. Mm-hmm. And so it's very intent driven.
We may add for our audience that GMV is gross merchant value. So that is not your revenue, but basically all of the merchant on the platform, what they in total generate on revenue on this platform. And then you get a share of that.
Correct.
Huh. Great. And just one more question before we check that box. You talked about one technology platform, and your business with the publisher brands is also connected to that?
That's correct. That's exactly what we're doing. The way we look at it is every experience that we are able to build and that helps consumers on either the B2C side or the B2B side, we directly want to be able to replicate it left or right, because it adds value. Mm-hmm. So it's exactly as you say. We're working towards one integrated platform where, so to say, we can exchange content offerings mm-hmm. as we see fit.
Mm-hmm. I was wondering, when we talked about the acquisitions, you had some funding, but it was not even 80 million the last time I checked Crunchbase. Very interesting investors, $79 million it was. I was wondering how you funded those acquisitions. Do you have one big fund that actually is interested of helping you to consolidate, and this is their buy and build and buy strategy? Or are you actually using your own proceeds out of your operational cash flow?
Yeah, no, great question, Yuan. So what we're doing is we're doing a combination of things. So, there's not like one fund that, so to say, helps us, but it's a combination of equity from either existing shareholders. There's quite some debt that we normally also leverage. So we work with different banks to actually facilitate transactions. And then there's our operating cash flow, given that the company is profitable, that we're utilizing. So a combination of those three, plus, for some of the deals, we obviously also have a share package. So we also do it by exchanging shares. And that's the mix we're using for our acquisitions in the past. And to a certain extent, depending on the size of the acquisition, the mix varies. So that's a bit how you can think about it.
So far, what I could find, you have funded until Series D, and your investors include Global General Capital, TRP Global, HV Capital, Group M6, Rocket Internet, DTCP, New Enterprise Associates, and Headline. Is that correct? Did I forget somebody important?
No, you haven't forgot anybody. It's more that there's one or two who we sort of say, no, we're not the newest, we're 10 years down the road. So we have one or two who basically left the cap table, okay, that either we founders bought out or other investors bought them out. So classical secondary transactions. The rest of the names is correct.
For our audience, secondary transactions is when you just sell shares. Basically, what you usually do as a VC, you invest money, you get additional newly created shares, but a secondary is just handing over shares. Very simplified. I was interested in your expansion in Europe and the US. I realized you are market leaders in France, UK, and Germany. You're active in more than 20 countries, but what I found especially interesting is you had a press release in April 2022. You hired a CTO, a CFO, a CMO, a head of HR, and a PR director. And they had experiences from companies like Zalando, FreeNow, Scout24, Flaconi, Westwing, Rakuten, and InnoGames. That actually is an indication that you're preparing for another level of scaling. Is that true?
So yes, what we felt was that the opportunity in this space, a lot of it we believe is by building out organically the business, and we're now 700 people, right? And on the other side, by actually managing further acquisitions through M&A. And what we felt is that we're coming to a critical moment where, in order to grow the business further, both organically and doing further M&A, we need to complement the existing team with additional, so to say, very experienced teammates. And thanks God, they are proven to, basically helping us on every of these dimensions. And hence, you're completely right. So we're looking forward to grow the business strongly further over the next 3 years, and also making it, professionalizing it further on every dimension, right? Be it on the finance side, be it that we believe that our product and tech efforts, as we integrate more companies, things don't get simpler, right? Building that platform concept requires quite a lot of experience, so you don't get lost. And we do believe that the space is in heavy need for innovation. Okay, so hence we brought in people that also bring a lot of experience from companies such as Klarna, right? That has been a quite interesting company, innovating over different over many years now in the fintech space, right? And we felt that it would help us a lot to sort of say, potentially also go further from where we are today in terms of how we look at the product to expand also in other areas. And we brought this knowledge now into the company, and definitely feel that this was much needed and is helping us a lot now over the next 3 years to hit, so to say, the next S curve, if you want to call it that way.
So far, you've reached 20 plus markets. I took from your website 400 million visits annually, 11 plus million members, and 3 million transactions a month. This is pretty big. But as you said, you want to grow organically. Are you also open for companies that currently are hit hard by Corona if they want to sell themselves? Would you be open to look at potential acquisitions?
Yes. So in general, we're very open to continue the buy and build strategy, which means companies that are active in our space, in a adjacent space, are are, so to say, companies we would be happy to look into. Independently if they're hit by Corona, or if they in general feel it's a good moment to potentially take a next adventure, or then look for a professional partner. So in the past we've seen that there are different narratives why companies also want to potentially engage with us in a sell or in a strategic partnership. So yes, absolutely right. We're more than happy to have a look at companies that feel like they could add to our journey and where we could add to their journey.
Let us now change a little bit the perspective, because we always talked about Global Savings Group, your platform, your expansion plans, but let us take a step back and take the view of a potential customer, because we already heard the big names like Adidas, IKEA, and so on, the big corporation partners like CNN, El País, and so on. What size does a merchant have to be in order to make sense to join you, and what can they expect from a partnership with you guys?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Jan. So in general, we don't limit by definition by size, right? I mean, the way to think about it is we're a performance marketing channel, which means you only pay if a transaction happens. So your risk to work with us is incredibly low, and depending on your specific problems that you want to achieve, right? I think the essence of what we always say is we're really great in generating sales and driving conversions for our partners. That's so to say a bit our USP compared to other channels. In terms of what they can expect, no size criteria per se. Okay, we always look at the partner individually, and I can tell you we have, on average, if you take a country such as Germany, France, Spain, right, we partner up with up to 3,000, 4,000 different advertisers. All right, so we cover quite a variety in terms of smaller size companies as well as the very, very big guys. In terms of what to expect, onboarding on our platform is incredibly simple. Okay, there's not a lot of work to be done. I think the core thing is to have a really good chat up front, what to expect. And in other words, what problem do you want to solve? And, these can come from, the classic ones that, customers come and ask us for, right? It's new customer generation, is reactivation of customers. It's about, making sure that we get, so to say, more conversion, reduce the cart abandonment rate, all these kind of classical problems that, I would say every e-commerce site works on. And depending on where you stand, we have different solutions for it across the product portfolio that we offer. What to expect, what we normally see is quite a big chunk, depending on how we set it up. What we can deliver is, like new customers is something we always obviously optimize for, but also we see normally the partners that work with us get up to 20 to 30% off basket uplifts, because we try to optimize for campaigns in that direction by actually triggering cashback at certain limits, or same with coupon codes. We can trigger specific product categories you're particularly interested to sell that maybe you currently have in the inventory and want to get rid of. Big topic at the moment, right? If you think about it, everybody did their forecasting on inventory based on Corona times. And now e-commerce this year is far off from the Corona peak times, right? So consumer confidence has dropped quite a bit. So a lot of our current discussions with clients is, how can we help to get that inventory out? Okay, and hence also, for example, Black Friday will play a massive role this year in that direction.
I hear a lot from the e-commerce side, from the merchant side, from the brand side. They have problems to get all the inventory, but if they already secured it for Christmas, you're the guys to talk to when they actually want to sell it. Out of curiosity, do you also see certain peaks like Amazon made now up their own shopping holiday in summer, like Prime Days. There's Cyber Monday, Black Friday week, also getting popular here in Germany and in Europe together. And of course, Christmas, like the biggest holiday, the biggest commercial event that we have, especially in Europe. Do you see certain peaks there?
Absolutely. So for us, Q4 is by far the most important quarter of the year, and exactly out of the reasons that you just said, right? There's, on the one side, Black Friday, that is by now a not only pure US event. I mean, it basically traveled from the US to Brazil, a massive topic in Brazil by now. It's big, I would have never expected it, but it's big by now also in Germany and France, and, all big advertisers are pushing that. Then you have 11/11. Let's not forget about that, particularly when you think about, Southeast Asia.
It's a Singles Day, right? It's the 11th of November, and it's Singles Day, kind of a version where you gift other singles a little bit, I would say, like Valentine's Day, as it is celebrated more in the US.
Yes, I would say it's a good and fair description, right? And it's basically driven by Alibaba. And look, crazy, what happens on that day as well, right? So I think it's fair to say, Q4 is massive, right? It's by far the biggest season peak. Summer period is normally a bit slower, right? So that's also very clear. Good weather doesn't help, and then you literally can say, everything. Mother's Day and, all those Valentine's Days and all of those classical days definitely also more, we can see them as well.
I see. So it's very seasonal, very regional. It's also something we see in our podcasting. As you said, good weather is not good for podcasts, for internet radios. There we grow usually very slow or not at all. And then it really picks up end of September, beginning of October, and it gets really red, burning hot between end of November and Christmas, and then complete break.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
I would have had a lot more questions, but we're recording for already more than 37 minutes, which is more on the longer side for our interview. I just want to wrap it up with two additional questions. Number one, maybe three. Number one, are you guys currently hiring?
Yes, we are. Across many roles, we're very flexible in terms of our working policy. So there's a lot of remote working possible, hybrid working possible. So absolutely, have a look at our sites. There's quite particularly engineering roles as usual, but also across the board marketing editors.
Sorry, there's just a siren going off here. They're testing it here. Really sorry about that. And the second question: are you guys looking to add additional investors to your circle of investors?
So look, right now we keep on being profitable, and that doesn't mean that we are not, given also our M&A ambitions, always on the lookout for, so to say, additional funding when it comes down to M&A. So yes, the answer is yes, but driven out of our buy and build strategy.
Great. So only thing left for me to say, everybody who would like to learn more, you can go down here in the show notes, have a look at your LinkedIn profile, at the company website, and everybody who would like to learn more can reach out to us, and we will have you back in the interview, let's say next year when we announce the next big acquisition.
Fantastic. You're looking forward to it.
Totally my pleasure. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot for having me here.
That's all, folks. Find more news, streams, events, and interviews at www.startuprad.io. Remember, sharing is caring.